I'm a Democratic candidate running for U.S. Senate. I'll give you a brief history on my background and what I've been doing the last 6 months, but I like to open it up to questions because I want to hear what people are thinking in all of the towns that I go to. So I started my campaign about 6 months ago. I am an immigration attorney. I started my practice when I was 26 years old with nothing, and I've been practicing for the last 15 years. In my practice, I work a lot with small businesses, from preschool teachers to restaurant businesses to high-tech, healthcare, and across the board. So I have a diverse experience working with many businesses and creating jobs for both immigrants and U.S. citizens. A lot of entrepreneurs who come and create jobs, and good jobs that are better than minimum wage paying jobs and jobs that stay here. I also work with families bringing their relatives, and I work with asylum seekers who are fleeing persecution. Recently, this past year, I worked on a case where I represented a gentleman from Uganda who's gay and had been tortured and was fleeing persecution, and we won the case, so it was pretty great. And I actually won a national award for my pro bono service because I had done that case pro bono and spent about 400 hours in the span of a year on that case. And I also won recently a victory for a family of women who were fleeing sex trafficking. So that was another big win on that one. So I got into this race because basically what I've been doing for my entire career is to fight for people's rights against powerful interests. In this case, I fight the federal government. And as a Democrat, I believe in the good things that the federal government can do, but I also know what they can do better. And I have that track record of being able to negotiate, and then when negotiation doesn't work, winning on the facts and the substance and the passion of my advocacy. And that's what I'd like to do in the U.S. Senate. And issues ranging from jobs, obviously that's the most important issue, and the actual plan for jobs that I've been talking about is something the Apollo Alliance put out for green jobs, and if we spent $100 billion over the next 2 years, we'd create 2 million green jobs with, in sort of the union sector, crafts, and skilled work, not just, again, minimum wage jobs. And jobs that would remain here with infrastructure, green energy, and all of those things that we should be investing our money in. And so that's that's one idea on jobs. There's many other things that we could be doing. See, I'm one candidate, the only candidate so far who's on the record in support of single-payer health care, and because we spend about $7,000 to $8,000 per capita, the next countries behind us, like France and England and Canada, spend about $3,000 or $4,000, and it's very. There's only two ways we're going to go. Healthcare costs are rising beyond control, and a lot of people resist single payer because they think it's government-run healthcare. It's not. You still have your private doctor. I know most people in the room obviously know this. You still have your private doctor. Single payer is simply that it's the one source. And yes, it's going to be paid through taxes, but that's we pay it now anyhow because it's all on the emergency end. It's all on the reactionary end. There's no preventative health. There's very little that we spend on preventative health care. My dad was a retired doctor. My mom is a retired nurse, and he was internal medicine, so he was working on those front lines. The hard cases, the time-consuming cases. And we need to get into prevention. We need to be spending the money there. Social Security, there are actually some Democrats who said recently in this race that we need to look at, balancing the budget and looking at entitlements, which when you say looking at entitlements basically means we're going to think about cutting them. I stand firm on that. There's absolutely no way we need to cut Social Security because it's funded for the next 25 years. If we lift the cap, right now, if you make $1 billion or you make $168,000, you're paying the same exact amount of payroll tax. So people at the very top are not paying their fair share. If we lifted that cap, Social Security would be funded for the next 75 years. And finally, on Medicare is the same thing. So on the wars, I say we're going to bring the troops home by the end of 2012. We're spending $1 trillion there. If we spend the same amount of money on healthcare and education that we spend on wars and prisons, we could pretty much be changing the outlook of the country and go forward in a positive fashion. So those are my ideas. And about the race and procedure, I'm the only candidate in this race that actually lives in a county that Scott Brown won. I live in Essex County, and he won Essex County by about 100,000 votes. And no, he won Essex County by about 35,000 votes, which is about a third of his point spread in the overall race. And so, obviously people say, why do you think you're the one that can beat Scott Brown? And I'm the one because I'm the one who's actually has the record of living with and working for. A lot of my clients are independents or they lean Republican. But the thing they know about me is that I tell it like it is and I don't try to shade things. And I'm very progressive. I am liberal. But they respect that I'm a business person. I know I've worked on the ground with different sectors of the economy, and they get that. And so independents will resonate with me where they're not going to necessarily resonate with other candidates, and because I actually live there, and work for them, and they get me. So I think that's my strong suit. I was actually recently endorsed by the Southern Essex County Register of Deeds, John O'Brien. He's been on the forefront of working against the mortgage fraud crisis, one of the few registers of deeds in the state. And he's been talking to some of the attorneys general across the country in resisting this $20 billion deal for the banks. You know, they would get immunity if they pay $20 billion, which is a drop in the bucket compared to the $700 billion that we gave them. So John endorsed me because he knows, again, like him, I'm a fighter, and that I have that ground game of doing true grassroots, and I've been going to town and gaining support. And I was third in the Boston Herald poll, which for some people might not mean a lot because we were sort of down at the other end, but it means a lot because I've spent far less money than the other candidates to start gaining the ground that I have. And I don't know if everybody saw the debate last week, but I was very proud of my answers there, and I'm looking forward to staying in the race. So that's me.
Question. I'm waiting on single payer health insurance. But where's the $100 billion come from for the green jobs?
Thank you. It's actually the exact same number for just 1 year. $100 billion is the number of corporate tax loopholes where corporations don't pay their taxes. So we only need, so that's $100 billion per year. So under my jobs plan, we actually just need half of that, which is $50 billion, and we would be able to invest that. So it's neutral. It's actually, it's less than costing. It's more than costing.
If you get Congress to close the loopholes.
Exactly. Yes.
How do you propose to do that?
Keep fighting until we get it done. Make them vote over and over again on it. I think one of the mistakes at the beginning of the 2008, because Republicans had a history of doing this, even though knew they weren't going to pass a bill, they'd make Democrats go on the record as voting, for or against something. And so when we had the majorities, even if we might not have been able to pass the bill, we didn't take a vote because leadership decided things weren't going to pass. But we should have made the Republicans go on the record as against for the continuation of the Bush tax cuts, against any kind of health care reform, instead of drawing it out. So have as many votes as possible and make them go on the record over and over again that they really only serve one interest, and that's people with lots of money. And hold town halls and look, everybody knows that the Tea Party is a corporate manufactured Koch brother event, no matter how the media portrays it. But instead of moaning about it as Democrats, and yeah, they have way more money than we have. They have all of those things. They have the corporate media. But why can't each congressional representative motivate and enthuse? Don't tell me they have mailing lists that are thousands of people long. They can't get a town hall once a week, 100 people showing up trying to, groundswell, ground game. If the Tea Party can do it, and you saw with the patient, with the so-called death panels and how that all erupted, and the Democrats were just like way behind the game. They started then doing them, but they were 30 days or 60 days too late. We need to be on the offense. We need to be doing those things before they become an issue. The other side makes it an issue. And get people out. I mean, look at Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Boston. I think you have Occupy, what's the newest state that just joined? Oregon.
Worcester.
Yeah, well, yeah, I saw Worcester and Oregon. So, and that's the job, I think, of public officials.
Rover hits the road tomorrow at 6 a.m.
I know. Clean up.
Will